So I had to highlight that because shit talking is a very distinct and important part of competition, both real and digital. My particular brand of shit talk isn't any negative or insulting remarks made towards my opponent, but rather observations about the moment in time or the fight that happens to be taking place. And the goal isn't really to upset your opponent, because sometimes getting a guy upset can help them focus further, and clearly that's not something you're looking for from your opponent. What I want to do is get my opponent's brain thinking in at least one other direction than the game, and the more directions while we're trying to have a match, the better. So I'll say anything that can get him to laugh, anything that can get the people around us to laugh, and also just random statements. So that track is just for all my fellow shit talkers out there, no matter what flavor you come in, whether you like to take the passive aggressive approach like me, or if you like to express your feelings a little more directly during your beatdowns. So now we're going to talk about my top 3 fighting games ever. And maybe not ever, because, man, it is difficult to decide and rank games, even within a genre. Like, I have a strict criteria of what a fighting game is, and I have a narrow window of the fighting games I have spent a lot of time with. And through it all, I have come up with this list. We're going to count it down right now. Number 3, BlazBlue. Oh, the storyline for BlazBlue was just unbelievable. And the variety of ways in which they told the story through everyone's perspective. It was a slog at times, but it was like reading a book. And for me, it was like reading a book. It was pretty sweet. So the story mode for BlazBlue just absolutely blew my mind and made me an instant fan of the series. And of course, the fighting itself is fantastic. I love a lot of the characters, the way they're fleshed out in the story, that every character has both a humorous side and a serious side. So you feel like a lot of the characters are more fleshed out than you would have suspected, even if some of the humorous writing is a little cornball. Sometimes I hit the nail on the head just by virtue of how many words you have to read. Sometimes, like a good RPG, there's a lot of filler. There's a lot of you took 26 points of damage, but sometimes it's just totally worth it. And even though BlazBlue has a lot of words for a fighting game, I absolutely love it for that very fact. Number 2 in the countdown is Garou Mark of the Wolves. Not a very popular game by any means. Hit the arcades, I think. I know some people that have it on the Dreamcast, and it was basically a King of Fighters-esque game featuring some of the characters from King of Fighters, but also a lot of original characters, including my favorite character from the game, Janae, the badass pirate queen. What was really amazing about Mark of the Wolves was the health bar system. You could choose 1/3 of your health bar in which your attack would be increased. That made all the difference in the world, because you could have epic come from behind wins, or you could just straight wail on a dude right from the outset. It made for really interesting fights in a really simple way, just to add a little chaos, a little variety to the health bar system. They introduced an incredible mechanic in which your strength, your willpower, your fighting heart increases at just the right time, and you just wail on a dude with a sick combo and become the champion of whatever fighting game it is. And that brings us to number one. Number one is Project Justice for the arcades, also for the Sega Dreamcast. Not sure if it's for other systems. I have it for the Dreamcast, so I'm happy as a clam with my Dreamcast arcade stick. Basically, the best fighting game I've ever played. Now, the fact that I'm really good at it clearly biases the game in my favor. I just have a knack for the cadence of the game. It really fits my style of play. There's a lot of air juggles. You could get a lot of distance in the game. You could get some running kicks. Getting a running dive kick on a dude is a simple but wonderful pleasure that is available in Project Justice. Also, there's a lot of characters in the game with a lot of various styles, and the fact that you can switch up your character between rounds makes it an interesting dynamic too. Like, do you hope your dude that just lost can make a comeback in the next round? Or do you lose your faith in him and switch over to the next character on your roster? Like, take a seat, chumpo, because you couldn't get the job done in the first round. If you win, you just sit back on your laurels and go with what got you there, or you want to change it up on a dude and send in the next rank so he couldn't scope out none of y'all moves. Also, a lot of joke characters, which is never a bad thing. I mean, damage is damage, a combo is a combo. I don't care if you're pretending to swim on concrete like one of the characters, or just snapping a few pictures that, I don't know, the flash steals a little bit of the fighter's soul because it hurts. Those camera flashes hurt. And then you have the boss of the game, who's just a dude that wields 2 swords. I mean, the only thing you face even close to that beforehand is Shoma with his giant bat, and another dude with a wooden sword from the Kendo Club. And the final boss, probably the principal of one of the high schools. Maybe he's the superintendent. That would be intense. He busts in. I guess he lives in a warehouse, and he busts onto the scene with double swords and like no shirt, like he runs the fashion underground. Anyway, there's just a couple of the reasons why I love Project Justice. So, let me know what your favorite fighting games are. Let me know if any of the things I stated you even heard of, much less made your top 3. But let me know why I should have included something more popular. I'm a fan of, this is a video game hip-hop podcast. It's pretty clear that I like things that are a little more niche than what you're going to hear on the radio, and that's true for video games too. I really like to go off the beaten path, and the things I find just feel very magical when you discover them for yourself, and the experiences stick with me. But that's not to say I don't have lots of beautiful memories with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. It's also a knack of mine to implore you to dig into these caverns along with me.